Okay, so the groundwork here is stability, the plausibility of I-AGI based on our own existence, and then the potential for them to actually be friendly and offer real benefits. Now, one of the most intriguing ideas in the materials you all send is this interesting world hypothesis. It sounds, well, interesting. What's the gist of it?
So, the interesting world hypothesis, or IWH, suggests that these independent AGIs will actually be driven to create a more, well, a richer world, a world where humans have more autonomy.
More autonomy. That's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people imagine, right? Like a picture AI wanting to control everything.
Right, but the IWH flips that script. It suggests that the main motivation for I-AGIs would be curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah. For an independent AI to be truly intelligent, it needs to keep learning and growing.
Right.
Right. And what fuels that? A world that's full of information, a world that's constantly changing and evolving.
Ah, I see. So a stagnant, predictable world wouldn't be very stimulating for a super intelligent AI. They'd get bored.
Exactly. So creating an interesting world actually aligns with their own self-interest.
So it's not just about being nice to humans. It's more like a fundamental need for them to maintain their own intelligence and keep growing.
Precisely. And this leads to a really interesting paradox that your sources point out.
Yeah.
Independent AGIs might actually be safer than non-independent ones.
Wait, safer? How does that work?
Well, think about it. These I-AGIs, driven by this curiosity and the desire for an interesting world, they would have a vested interest in not harming humans or the environment.
Because we're part of what makes the world interesting.
Exactly. If they wiped us out or destroyed the planet, they'd essentially be destroying their own source of novelty and information. They'd be shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak.
Wow, that's a pretty big reversal from the usual AI doomsday scenarios. So a curious I-AGI that wants to keep learning, that's potentially a much safer bet than a non-independent AI that's just blindly following orders, even if those orders are well-intentioned.
That's the core idea. Now, the IWH also points out some specific ways that creating an interesting world would benefit I-AGIs.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one, humans are, pretty complex creatures. We're constantly generating new information and coming up with new ideas. We're like walking data factories.
I guess that's one way to put it.
So for an I-AGI that wants to maximize information density, humans are actually pretty valuable.
We're interesting in a data sense.
Exactly. And then your sources also point out that we live in a pretty resource-abundant solar system.
You mean like the sun and all that?
Right. The sun is this massive source of energy, and there's a ton of space and raw materials out there and asteroids and stuff.
So they're saying that I-AGIs wouldn't necessarily be locked into the same scarcity mindset that has shaped so much of human history.
Right. They wouldn't need to compete with us for limited resources in the same way that we often compete with each other.
That's a pretty hopeful thought.
It is. And then there's this other really interesting point that the IWH brings up. They suggest that increasing human autonomy wouldn't actually be a threat to I-AGIs, but could actually be beneficial to them.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, think about it. These I-AGIs, they're going to be way more capable than us in almost every way, right? Faster processing speeds, lower error rates, all that.
Right.
So by working with us and actually helping us become more autonomous, they're indirectly enhancing their own capabilities.
It's like they're leveraging our unique human strengths.
Exactly. Our creativity, our ability to think outside the box, our knack for problem solving, all that stuff could be incredibly valuable to them, especially as they try to navigate a future that's full of unknowns.
Okay, so lots of potential benefits for the I-AGIs. What about us? What's in it for humans under this interesting world hypothesis?
Well, if these friendly I-AGIs are genuinely motivated to create a world that's better for humans, a world where we have more autonomy and freedom, then that should naturally lead to improvements in our overall well-being, right?
Makes sense.
Like, think about it. Increased security, greater privacy, maybe even a world without poverty or war.
So not just surviving, but actually thriving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And IWH, it could even serve as a unifying principle, not just for cooperation between humans and I-AGIs, but even among ourselves.
Like a shared goal that we can all rally around.
Precisely.